to share my screen with the PDF, and then we'll start working on some problems. If you're seeing my screen, you should see something that says College Algebra Exam Book.
Yeah.
It's not actually a college algebra exam book. I was on another project, and this is the label that it came with. What I provided you is 3 exams, and the first exam is enough that we can do in a lesson. And then exam 2 is the same questions, but with different numbers, and same thing with exam 3.
Okay.
So the idea was that if you had done this ahead of time, we could either do more problems like them, or we could do something different. But I also want to point out that the solutions come with it. So there's the solution, for example, to question 1 is here. So now that I've explained that, do you want me to just start with the first question, just start working through these and give you some, I don't know, some things to think about, or do you want me to do something different today?
Yeah, I think we should just work through the first exam maybe, and then maybe for the second and third, I can try to do one by myself or something like that.
Okay, great. I'm going to snip this question into my workspace, and then I'm going to share that screen with you. Are you taking the exam? Do you know yet if it'll be in person, online? Do you know any of that information?
I'm pretty sure it would be in person. I'm not planning on taking it until maybe like summertime. So I've just kind of started preparing for it. But
Okay.
my friends took the ACT and it was in person, so I'm guessing that it would be in person.
Okay. I'm really curious because I don't have any idea. I've read a lot of articles that many schools are not even requiring it, so
Yeah.
it's kind of unclear. So if you're seeing my screen, you're seeing a question about Jared organizing the cost of attending schools. So first thing I guess I'll point out here is that for the SAT, there are 4 options, A through D, and then F through GH, F, G, H, J, I think. And then for the ACT, you get 5 options. So just a small variant there. All of the ones that I provided you are no calculator. I know that they have a calculator section. Most of the calculator problems that I have seen do not actually require a calculator. It can help. This one, we'll use a calculator because the numbers get kind of large, just as like a way to propel through this. But these are designed to be done without a calculator because they're testing sometimes your ability to do the calculations by hand. One type of problem you definitely see is a table. Jared has organized the cost of attending his top 2 school choices in the table above. School A will provide a one-time scholarship valued at $21,900, and School B will provide a $3,100 per year scholarship for each year he attends. Scholarship money is used for both tuition and room and board. When taking into account scholarship money available to Jared, how much more does he pay to attend school as compared to School B for 2 years? So I always like to read that question again or make sure I know what I'm trying to find. He's trying to decide between the 2 schools. So he's got School A, he's got School B, and he's going for 2 years. So for example, School A is $23,700 plus $13,600 per year. And together that's that's $47,300 per year. How many years is he going to school? For 2 years. Okay, so you just double that. So the numbers are kind of large here. 94,600 for 2 years. But he gets a one-time scholarship.
Okay.
So we're going to subtract 21,900 from that number to get whatever this is. That's what that becomes 93, 700. So 72,700, I think. And then we have to do the same thing for School B. So this really isn't a hard question once you know how to do it, what the steps are. It's basically just, this question is designed to get you to extract the information that's needed. School B is less expensive, but the scholarship's not as much. So it's 6,200 plus 6,100. So it's 12,300. But of he gets a scholarship of $3,100 per year. So we subtract the $3,100 and we end up getting that it costs him $9,200 to go to school for 1 year. So it's 18,400 for 2 years. Does that look right?
Yeah.
You know what? I made a mistake adding. This is 37,300. So this becomes 74,600.
Oh,
Apologize for that. And then this becomes, when you subtract, um, what is it, 52,700. So it's just the difference between those two numbers, 52,700 less 18,400. Okay, so the answer is 34,300, letter C.
okay. So for that type of question, you would not get a calculator?
Well, you don't need one. All of this only took a couple of minutes. The numbers are a little bit bigger. There's also a couple of shortcuts that you can take to do this question. So one of them is you're essentially just subtracting out certain numbers, and you can, like, that's 21,900 and 3,100. They kind of go together nicely. Um, this is not the best example of what I was trying to illustrate without the calculator. There's no complicated math in this one. That's why it
Right.
has more calculations in it.
Okay.
So a couple of things I want you to notice about the answer key, and I don't want to throw too much at you at once, but um, these answers are in descending order. The most common, though, is ascending. Ascending is the most common, but these are in descending order.
Okay.
So I don't actually know what the next question, or in the next exam, what it'll be like. I use a few variants on this, but you should be aware of that. Um, so this is a good time to decide: do you want to do a question like this, or do you want me to just move through question two?
Um, let's do a question like it. Maybe I can try.
Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip in. I'm going to go to exam two. And the nice thing is it's in the same order, just different numbers this time. So let me do that. And in terms of time, um, around 2 minutes for this question. I would definitely just use a calculator to start, because um, we're not emphasizing the multiplication here and the subtraction. We're multiplying that. So I'm just going to pause for like 2 minutes and see if you can come up with the correct answer.
Oh, that's what I forgot. I forgot to multiply 4 years. I was wondering why I got such a small number. Okay.
So I was going to ask this because I think that I'm pretty sure this happened. What should you do when your answer is not there? And what are some options that come to mind, I guess?
I guess you just restart. You could restart completely.
You could restart completely. That is a good option if you think you can solve it. You could guess, which I don't remember if there's a guessing. Um, it is changed, but if you don't get penalized for guessing, you could guess. That's a good option if you don't think you'll have enough time to come back.
Mm-hmm.
These answers are designed so that I'm not testing you in regards to the answers. Like if you get the number, you're going to get it in here. It's not like there's a lot of things that can be done to make the answers mysterious or evasive. So really comes down to, do you think you can just do it? If you can, redo it and get it done. Um, Now that I'm looking at this question again, it's probably a calculator question unless the numbers are a little bit smaller or nicer, but um, the correct answer is B. I don't know if you got to that yet or
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Okay. So let me, this is a good time for me to divert to showing you what the solutions look like that come with the practice test. And it may or I hope the idea is that these answers would help you if there was no human around. Like they tell you what to do, but they don't tell you why. So they just tell you, hey, here's an equation for the school for cost A. Take the tuition, take the room and board, multiply by the number of years, subtract out the scholarship. The next line is putting the numbers in for 4 years, tuition at school A, room and board school A, scholarship school A. The simplify step, obviously, there's a little bit that goes into that, but it's there. You repeat for school B, it's a different equation altogether. New set of numbers, simplify, and then you subtract the difference between the two schools to come up with the correct answer. So if you're stuck, every exam that I send you will have this step-by-step solution to be able to answer the question.
All right.
All right, so let's work on question 2. I'll try to point out some other things. I'm going to snip this question into the workspace and then I'll reshare. All right, so we're going to do a new share, get back to the workspace. Here it is. So one of the strategies that I like to use is I call it read the question first. And that can mean a lot of things. This whole thing is a question, but this line down here, the thing that they actually want you to do, they have a term in marketing. It's a call to action. And I use that here because this is what you're expected to do. So sometimes it's a good idea to read this first, then the prompt, which is all this other information, and then the question again. What it does is it gets your brain thinking about what you're trying to solve for. Then you go back and look for the relevant information, and then you read the question again. Depending on the length of the prompt, sometimes the question is very straightforward, and you don't have to go back and get all the information, but we'll try that here. So how much does the cost of the ride sharing service increase from 16 miles to 23 miles? So to me, it sounds like we're going to have to do something for 16 miles. I got too many ones going on. So this is the first thing we're going to do. And then we got to figure out what it costs for 23 miles. And then if it's increasing, we're going to find the difference between them. So it says for the first 19 miles, the cost in dollars of a ride-sharing service in El Paso is modeled by the equation Z equals 9.25 plus A, where A is the number of miles driven. So can we use that to figure out how much the cost of the ride-sharing service increases from 16 miles to 23 miles? Well, of course, we can figure out how much at 16 miles. So it says for the first 19 miles, we're going to use this equation. So for 16 miles, z equals 9.25 plus 8a, and we know that a is equal to 16. So this is 9.25 plus 8 times 16. So if you haven't, this is no calculator. It seems difficult, but you should be able to do a single number times a 2-digit number here. So that's $128 plus 925. So the first cost is $137.25. Now you might think you could just put that number in for 23 miles into the same equation, but you have to keep reading on here. It says any travel over 19 miles is charged at a rate of $1 per mile. What does that mean to you?
Add like $4.
Yes. So we have to figure out how much it costs for 19 miles and then add $4 to it. I like the way you said that. That's actually a simpler way than the solution manual. So the 19 miles means that A equals 19. You're welcome to use a calculator if you want here, just to speed up the process, but tell me how much it costs for the first 19 miles, and then we'll figure out, we'll add this for the 23 miles.
Plus 4. 165.25.
I got 161.25.
8 times 19 plus
925.
Is it 9.25?
Yes.
8 times 19. That's 152, right?
8 times 9, yes.
And then plus
9.25.
Plus 4. Oh, you didn't do the plus 4.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's 165.25 for 23 miles, and it's 137.25 for 16 miles. So you have to subtract them. That looks awkward, but it is just a whole number. It looks like it's $28, which is letter B. Okay. So the kind of like question 1, I'm actually, these weren't designed to be, these were randomly chosen by a computer. I don't know why these were done this way, but they actually illustrate the same calculation, where you have to do one calculation, then another calculation, and then combine the result. It's rare to get like a direct, just do one thing and get the answer. These are very much synthesis questions for you. So I'm not. Let's not do a duplicate of that, because it's very much like the first one. I'm going to snip in number 3. And this is the first question where I think you have to know something from like one of your classes that you've taken. So I think I've read these books, and I've done a lot of look investigation, and they say things like, well, it goes through pre-calculus. They don't call it that; they call it something different. But the core of it is really like an algebra 1/2/geometry.
Yeah.
So if you can do that stuff, you're going to be okay. They never ask direct questions though. So the way that you are taught to learn in your classroom is very different than the way you have to do it for this test. This is a great example of it. If I said, well, tell me what makes 2 lines perpendicular, you probably know that the slopes are perpendicular. And that means that the product of the slopes is -1. Now, more generally, it's like if slope 1 is 3/2, that means that slope 2 is -2/3. Usually we say things like flip and negate, or reciprocal and negate, right? Mm-hmm. So you know that, like, you know what makes 2 lines perpendicular. That's not enough to solve this problem. Like, you have to do something to get that here. You have the equation of a first line, equation of a second line. you need to extract the slope from one line or the other or both to answer this question. Can you figure out the slope of the first line?
Yeah, if you put it in
Okay.
slope intercept form. I mean, not slope
Let's,
intercept, what's called y equals mx plus b.
right. And see how it's not already in that form, so you can't just get the number, you have to do something.
Yeah.
So let's do that. What is the slope of line one? The so you're gonna basically solve for y. Let me know when you get your result for that.
Okay. Wait. I need to write that. 5. Okay.
What do you got for your slope?
-7/5 x.
Yes. Just -7/5. Okay. So you might you might start looking at the answers and say, oh well, it's something like 5/7 or -5 or something like that. But you can't do that. You got to keep going here. So the next equation, this is where it's a little bit awkward, and that's the word I like using because it's
There's an extra like.
yeah, letter. So this 7K I put in parentheses. It's something. It's something, we don't know what it is, but you have to do the same thing for equation for line 2 is you have to solve for y. I'm sorry, that's a 6x. I'm sorry. So if you write minus 7k y equals minus 6x plus 4, and then you divide both sides by minus 7k, you get y equals -6 over -7k times x plus 4 over -7k. This part on the right is irrelevant. You don't need any of that. This is what you need right here. So the slope of line 2 is 6 over 7k because the negatives cancel. So the slope of line 1 is -7/5. The slope of line 2 is 6 over 7k. If these are perpendicular, it multiplies to -1. So you found the slope of equation 1, slope of equation 2. For perpendicular, they have to multiply to -1. If they were parallel, which is a related question, they would be equal. So you would set the slopes equal.
Okay.
So are you comfortable solving this for k?
Would you just cross multiply?
You can cross multiply. You might multiply first and then cross multiply. A lot of options here. You can also cancel out the 7s to start.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, oh, wait. Let me try this. So then what do you do? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's what I got.
Okay, and your answer's here. So that that's a good thing. Like you don't want to be surprised here. There's kind of synthesis of skills here. You have to be comfortable solving these awkward fraction equations. One of your instructors 1 year, maybe in 2 years, was really good at giving you unusual numbers, and that's really good for these types of questions.
Yeah.
Would you like to do another one like this with different numbers?
Yeah, we should do that.
Okay, so let me pull up exam 2, and it's the same question but different numbers, so it's solved exactly the same. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to work through it, and I'm pasting it right now, so I'll check back with you in about 2 minutes. Just writing down the slopes that you should get for equation 1 and equation 2.
Isn't it negative 2 over k?
Let's take a look. So we're talking about equation 1. So we have minus 6x plus 3ky equals minus 5. We're going to add 6x to both sides. So 3ky equals 6x minus 5. And you're going to divide both sides by 3k. So that gives you y equals 6x over 3k minus 5 over 3k. The number on the right, you don't even need to do that. We're just going to rewrite this as 6 over 3k times x. So all of this is the slope.
Okay, yes. I just brought the negative over instead.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. So then you know, if we could break down like what is this problem? It's minus 4/5 times 2 over k equals negative 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you negative 8 over 5k equals negative 1. So k ends up equaling 8 over 5, which is answer A.
You wouldn't do cross multiplying for that?
You can. You absolutely can. I'm skipping a lot of algebra steps here. So the steps are negative 8 equals negative 1 times 5k. Negative 8 equals negative 5k. Divide both sides by negative 5. 8 over 5 equals k.
Okay.
So this is a good problem to point out some things that you might see in the answer space that might help you. What I don't recommend, and it is kind of a strategy, but there's a lot of kind of strategies that they're all equal precedence. So it might work on one but not another. Is these three answers all have 8s and 5s on them? So D is probably not correct. Is that a general rule? No. But it's very common to see the flip of the answer, especially when it's a fraction, negation of it, which means you really want to solve the problem without looking at the answers. You want to just get your result, find it, and move on is the best case scenario for most of these questions. Because otherwise you're playing this game of trying to use the answers, and you could get stuck here. All right. So contemplating skipping 4, but I guess we're gonna do it. I want to point out some things. This question was written to really emphasize, I'm gonna snip it in here, that you will occasionally get really, really long words questions. Like, this is not unusual to get this many words in a math question. It's not a hard question because it's actually just I'm telling you this in advance, it's distance equals rate times time question. Okay. But it's got a lot to take in, and that's what this test is. One of the things to emphasize, you're like, wow, it's a lot of time here to figure this out. So let's start by looking at the question first. If the distance from the fire station to Peter is 42 kilometers, how much time passes from when Kendra makes the call for help and Peter safely returned to the ground? So we're figuring out time. So Peter's climbing a pine tree and gets stuck 80 kilometers from the ground. That information is not useful because we don't care about how high the tree is. Yet, after waiting 14 minutes, okay, he sees Kendra walking by and yells to her. So the question says, how much time passes from when Kendra makes the call? So this information is also not important. Yeah. Because she hasn't made the call yet. So when Kendra finally realizes that Peter's stuck in the pine tree, She gets her phone out and calls for help. Okay, so now the timer is started. So that's what we care. We're trying to figure out how much time. So she's on hold for 15 seconds before getting to the fire department, which Emilia prepares to leave Station 51. Not useful. Again, the firefighters take 30 seconds before getting ready. The fire truck travels at an average rate of 60 kilometers per hour until it arrives. Okay, so there's some sort of time here that it takes them to arrive. Casey, who leads the rescue, takes 7 minutes to safely return Peter from the tree to the ground. So if we figure out this time, we're done with the question. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Now, there's another problem here is that this is in seconds. This is in seconds. This is in minutes. This one is in hours. What are the answers? And the answers are in minutes and seconds. So we should probably possibly convert these to minutes. We'll see. Okay, so if the distance from the fire station to Peter is 42 kilometers, okay, so it's 42 kilometers. The distance is 42 kilometers. The rate is 60. The time is given by solving this equation. So this time to arrive is 42 divided by 60. It looks bad, but both of those numbers are divisible by 6, so it's 7 out of 10. What are the units of the rate?
Kilometers per hour.
So the rate, kilometers per hour, so the time, so this is in hours. But our answers are in minutes. So how do we convert from hours to minutes? Well, in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. Hey, maybe it looks bad, but 60 goes into 10 6 times, so it takes 42 minutes. 42 minutes to get there.
Wait, how did you do that?
60 divided by 10 is 6, times 7 is 42. So this number is the time of arrival, which is 42 minutes. It took him 7 minutes to get him down from the tree, so that's 49. And then these go together to make 45 seconds. So it looks like that is the correct answer. Was the math to do this problem difficult?
No.
No. But reading all this, figuring out what's going on could be.
Yeah.
And there could be a lot of information. I came up with a term for this, but it's escaping right now. There's extraneous information. There's information just isn't needed. And there's names and there's people and there's these things going on. But really the answer is just adding 4 numbers, doing 1 conversion, and you're done. So most students struggle with these types of questions. Like you wouldn't be alone if you said, okay, Matthew, out of the first 4 that we've done, 1, 2, I guess this is question 2. This is like an algebra question, this third one, and then this is another story question here. Mm-hmm. They're mostly story questions. So you should be prepared for that. Be prepared to actually have to read something and figure out what's important or not important in it. I'll save doing another one for you because it's kind of like the first few that we did. So this one is a math skill, number 5. We can start with this. This again, it comes out of Algebra 2, Algebra 1 geometry. This one's testing your knowledge of complex variables.
This is like heart of algebra. I think
that's yes, yeah, that's right. That's what it's called, heart of algebra. Whatever that means, I don't know. So the complex variables you're solving. So this question, again, you sometimes you want to go to the, what are the values of Q which satisfy the given equation? You might look like, well, there's a Q, there's a B, there's an I, there's another I. So there's a lot going on here. But something here works. You can't just grab the answers and put them back in. That doesn't help much because it would take too long because you don't know whether to start here, 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 or here, A, B, C, or D. So you literally have to solve this. And you might at first say, well, how can I solve this? It's got too much going on. So the skill you need to remember here is that there is a real plus a complex part. And it's A plus BI. So the real part, this on the right-hand side, this is the real part. And this is the complex part. On the left here, there's a real and a complex part. Okay, and if that still doesn't make any sense, let me just work through a few steps here. So q squared plus b squared I is in parentheses, but there's nothing holding it, so we're going to drop those. Here on the right, you're going to distribute this -9 to both terms. So that's minus 9 times 10 is 90, 9 times 3 is 27, so it's minus 117, minus 117i. So this is real, this is real, so we can put those together. Q squared minus 117, b squared I minus 117i is complex, and you can set the real part equal to the real part, and if you wanted to, the complex part to the complex part. But since it's asking you to solve for q, you said q squared minus 117 equal to 9. Add 117 to both sides, you get q squared equals 126. Q equals plus or minus the square root of 126. You'll notice that answer is not there, so we still have to do some work here. This is 2 and 63, 2 and 31. No, 2 and, I'm sorry, 3 and 21, sorry, and then 3 and 7. So it ends up being 3 plus or minus 3 squared 14, yeah. So I think it would be good for us to do another question just like this.
So all the other stuff, like the b2, b squared I minus 117i,
It's
that,
just that extra information. It's completely you don't have to do anything with it because you're only solving for the value of q. If it asked for b, you'd have to find b. This one doesn't. So what you don't know, and I mean, I guess I can fill you in on this, is like in this other problem, I'm having you solve for f again. Well, there's another variation of this problem where you solve for u instead of f. And one of those answers might be here. Like if you solve for the wrong one, that answer might be there. So you have to know what you're solving for, and that's why it's good to always have that ahead of time known. So why don't you give this a try? Give you 2 minutes and see what you come up with. What I just wrote is the equation you end up solving to answer this question.
Yeah, that's what I got. So
Okay.
is it B?
So if you move the 9 to the other side, you get f squared equals minus 22.
Oh, wait.
And yeah, square root here, you get f equals plus or minus the square root of negative 22.
I got, okay, wait. So I had f squared minus 9 equals negative 13.
So this negative goes to both,
Oh,
and that's why it becomes a plus 9 there.
I see.
That right there is a really common thing to see in the SAT is distribute a negative problem, distribute negative. I don't know why, but all the books emphasize that. It's what usually happens though is the second one is not remembered. The first one is not the second, but you do it to both, and you solve here. So they tell you that I equals the square root of negative 1, so f equals plus or minus I squared 22. That one.
So A. Okay.
A is correct. Yeah. These are much more direct, the algebra skills, and you will see a fair number of them. 6 is kind of like that. I want to move to 8,
Okay.
just so you can see one with a graph. I know you don't. I know you don't go to South Point, but I'm just tell you this story anyway. So unless then something has changed, so South Point does their midterm and finals with graph questions like these, except they give the graphs and as the answers, and they're very easy because you can kind of identify it. The SAT does not do that. You generally get a picture, and the answers are always sort of numbers or equations. You almost never get a graph to choose. So it's pulling from the picture into something here. Okay, so the graph, it says, what is the value of the quadratic function g of x shown in the graph above at x equals 5? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, so somewhere down here, that's why this problem is here. We don't know where it is. We don't know whether it's there at minus 16, 15, 14, 13. We have no idea. Okay. What would you like to know to be able to find the output of the function? What would be really helpful in this case? What if we knew the equation for the parabola?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Very helpful, right? We don't have that though, but you in your algebra 2 classes are able to do that. So for example, I give you 2 of the intercepts here. One of the intercepts is at -2, and the other one is at 4. So if you recall, you can always write it as x minus the 0, x minus the 0. So what that means is x minus a -2 times x minus 4. So this becomes x plus 4. I'm sorry, x plus 2, and then x minus 4. If you put 5 into this equation, will you get one of these answers? So 5 plus 2, 5 minus 4, that's 7 times 1, that's 7.
No.
That's wrong. So there's something wrong here. This is one of those questions that one of your instructors gave you a long time ago. The value of A has yet to be determined.
What about the minus 110? Does that matter at all?
That does matter. So one way to find your A is to use this point. So if they give you a piece of information like this, it's not always extraneous. Like sometimes this is necessary. Okay, you can't do this problem without it. So you have to know that the y value is 10 when x is minus 1. So we can put -1 in for x. So I'm just grabbing this line down here. -1 minus 4. 10 equals a times 1 times -5. So you end up getting a equals -2.
Mm-hmm.
So your g of x is -2, x plus 2, x minus 4. Now you can put the value of 5 in. You can find g of 5 equals -2, 5 plus 2, 5 minus 4. So that's -2 times 7 times 1, which is -14. This is a really good example of a problem where if you guessed, you couldn't guess the right answer and have any confidence that you had done that. You have to do the work to get it, because all of these are reasonable. I mean, it's not like it's -50 or -1. And that's, this test is designed that they're kind of pointing you towards the answer, but you still need to do the work to get to the answer. There are some questions where you absolutely have to use the answers, but we haven't seen one yet.
Okay.
So my recommendation to you, there's 10 questions here. We haven't gone through all of them. My recommendation would be to print it out and see how many you can do in like 30 minutes, or whatever you want to do, set aside for doing. Now that I've shown you how to do some of these, because it's a time test, it's really good to get in the habit of like, what can you do in a certain amount of time?
Should I do like exam like 3 since or exam 2 since
I
we have
would I would do exam 1. I would just retry exam 1, see if you can do it in 30 minutes. Do exam 2 tomorrow, and do exam 3 the next day.
okay.
And when you schedule another lesson, I'll be happy to produce another set of exams with some different questions on it to work through.
Um, is should I just sign up like if I wanted to do every Sunday, would I just sign up every Sunday on?
Yeah, so you're one of the few people that actually is really on top of their schedule. You can actually do that today. I do it in a eight day window, so you can get next Sunday at this time if you want. You just have to do it today. Almost no one schedules that far out, so but and if you need another time than the ones that are listed, let me know, and I'll be happy to add it for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna try to be like consistent and do probably like once a week until I take the test.
Great. So that's it for today. I'm going to send you a PDF of the notes and the screen recording, and I'll do that here as soon as it uploads from Zoom. So I appreciate your time, and thanks for scheduling.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now.